first step to learning how to piece control is understanding what it is. If you look at the bot right in front of you here, you'll see that half of the builds are yours and half of them are the enemy's. The goal throughout a fight is to try to get as many builds around the enemy as possible, because the more builds you have, the more peaks you can set up. If they owned all the builds, then they're nice and safe in their structure, but if you even own one wall, you may have an opportunity to make an edit and take a shot on the enemy. Practice taking some shots on this first sentry here. When you own all the builds around an enemy, this is the best scenario for you. You have them full boxed or full pieced. When you have all the piece on the enemy, they have no escape. All you got to do now is set up a nice peek shot, which we'll go into more later. If you're ever in a team game mode and you have all the builds around the enemy, a lot of times you want to wait for your teammate to get there. Tell your teammate you have them full boxed, and when your teammate gets there, you jump in together and you can get a free kill. Now, just like in the first representation, in this scenario, you have partial piece on the enemy. What this means is you own a few builds and not all of them. Sometimes in this situation, you'll be able to take a shot before they get away. Other times, they'll escape out of the builds that they own. Now, whenever you have partial piece like this, you can do a thing called pre-boxing. Head over to the next reel to find out what that is. Walk around this box real quick. Notice how you own all the builds except for one wall. If the enemy owns just that one wall, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to try to escape out that direction. This is an opportunity for you to pre-box the enemy. If you know that they're going to escape out a certain direction, or even if you just think they're going to run out that way, you can make a box in that direction and they'll walk into your builds. And doing that is called a pre-box. It's important to note that cones are one of the most useful builds in the game. You may be wondering why. Cones can place farther than any other build. Try to stand as far away from this sentry as possible and hold out your cone bind. Look at how far that bad boy places. You can place a cone almost an entire box away. But not only that, place a wall in front of the sentry here. If you look over the wall, the cone will place over the sentry a box away. So when you're in a fight, it's super important to try to look for opportunities to use cones to trap the enemy. Whether it be getting them stuck on a ramp when you get them cones, or placing it over walls just like I just showed you. Use cones more and you'll end up outplaying your opponent way more often. Another important thing to know is that you can place walls pretty far from yourself as well. Try standing still a layer below the sentry here and hold out your walls. Then look straight up. Notice how you can place a wall in front of the sentry. That is basically called a high wall. You can use high walls in so many different situations: to block shots from people above you, to get a wall on an enemy above you, just like you just did to this sentry. By getting that wall, you can edit it instead of a peek and get the kill. There's lots of ways to use high walls, which you'll learn throughout this map, but that's just the basics of it. Now it's time to understand right-hand peeks, which is one of the most important things to get down. Position yourself to the left of the window here. Try to make it so that the sentry can't see you. If you quickly walk to the right, take a shot, and then reset the wall, that is an example of a right-hand peek. In the next section of tutorials, we're going to be completely focusing on peeks. This first drill is open to your imagination. Box this sentry whatever way you see fit, but while doing so, make sure you're placing your builds from behind a right-hand peak. That way, if it was a real enemy, it wouldn't be able to shoot you. And of course, take a nice peek shot and reset your wall afterwards. If nothing I said made sense right there, you may need to go back to the beginner tutorial part of this map. Anytime an enemy is on a ramp, you always want to try to get a cone over top of them. So practice getting the cone over the enemy, placing the close wall, and then adding a window or a triangle edit and placing the back walls. Then set up a nice peak and reset your wall after taking the shot. In this drill, you're going to be practicing piece control from above. Place a flooring cone over the enemy and then edit the right tiles of your flooring cone. Do this while standing to the left of your flooring cone. This should set up a nice right-hand peak for you, and from behind that peak, you can place the walls around the enemy and set up a nice peak shot. After you take the shot, reset your floor or place a wall in front of you to block off shots from the sentry. this drill, you're going to be using the naturally built wall as a right-hand peak. So place a flooring cone over the enemy and stand to the left of the wall. That way the sentry can't see you. From there, you can place a cone in the enemy's box, walls around him, or a ramp in the enemy's box and walls around, and then take a peek shot and reset your floor after shooting. Or place a wall down in front of you to block possible enemy shots. In this drill, you can practice doing a Martaz peak, which we learned in the tutorial section of the map, or you can practice placing a ramp, flooring cone, double edit through the flooring cone, place a wall between you and the sentry, and then set up a peak. To take it one step further, you can practice boxing the enemy from behind a right-hand peak, just like we learned in the tutorial section of the map. And of course, when taking the peak shot, reset the wall after shooting. In this drill, you're going to practice placing a high wall in front of the enemy. So it starts out by ramping up towards the enemy and then swinging walls up in the direction of the sentry. Once you get that wall, just jump onto a ramp and piece control the enemy through the wall. Building high walls is super important, so try to get comfortable with this. And if you're confused on what it should look like, head back to the main hub and look behind you and check out that video on YouTube. It'll show every single drill in this map. In this drill, you're going to practice side jumping. Start out by placing a cone through that glass floor, and then jump to the right or left of that cone and place a wall in front of the sentry while you're mid-air and catch yourself on a floor. Once you're at that point, edit a window in the wall and peek into the enemy, take a peek shot, and go again. Practice alternating sides that you go to. You want to be comfortable doing this from every direction. On this drill, do not drop down in front of the sentry. The goal of this drill is to get comfortable placing and editing the wall from an awkward angle. So what I want you to do is make a double edit downwards through a flooring cone, place the wall in front of the sentry, and then a cone in the sentry's box. Do all of this without dropping down. Stay up on that top floor there. After getting comfortable with all these drills, you may be ready for the advanced section of the map. Woo, let's go.